I guess the way that I came to be in this room today, here right now, is that I moved from Sydney to Melbourne, went to university at Melbourne University, and it was there that I really learned about politics as a young person in university, cared about issues like my friends being in poverty or climate change. And I think maybe the point where tomorrow intersects with my story about caring for justice is that in 2019, some of you might remember there was a federal election that was considered an unlosable election for the Labour Party. That was at the point where the Liberals have been in government for a really long time, and it was considered an unlosable election and also a climate election. What ended up happening was that we lost the election, um, which is, I think, maybe a story that we're a bit too familiar with at this point in time, 6 years on. The conservative Liberal Party managed to do really well. That election was divide everyday people by saying if we do climate action, then that will result in working class people losing their jobs. There's this huge divide that we either choose having money, having stability, or climate action, which as a young person in the world, that was clearly not right. We're not going to fly. The Liberals, they really effectively used fear and also things like racism to get themselves re-elected. So after that, I got essentially, I got a few people who were really interested in looking at this moment and what happened and trying to figure out if there is another way. I got gathered together with a group of young people. There were 13 of us. Yeah, we got into a room, not unlike this one actually. A bunch of young people who I was probably one of the younger folks in the room at the time, and we were all really keen to do something bigger to create a movement that can face up to the scale of the challenges that we face, because let's not make no mistake, the climate crisis and growing economic inequality and just the way that racism continues to proliferate, or so many of these other things that are happening in the world, they were not getting better, and we were, what can we do? So we embarked on a process called front loading, or essentially creating a new movement, creating the DNA. Yeah, and we wanted to build a movement that would be powerful enough and say what was needed to change politics a little better. We launched, that was in 2020, March 2020. It was the first COVID lockdown, and we launched our movement 5 years ago. We tried a lot of things since then. We started talking about the influence of big business on our politics, and so during COVID, that was really, really prevalent. At that time, some really big things happened that showed that with the right forces, politics can change. The government increased the rate of income support in that year, but then decreased it again. Big things are possible, but only there's political will for it. We, did a bunch of other things in the years since, went on big action in Parliament, trying to push Labour to champion our vision, not that successfully. We've learned a lot of things along the way. We've built a bunch of support for the idea of the fact that climate solutions need to also be solutions for people's economic issues, for the jobs crisis, for the cost of living crisis. And so where we're at now is here we are sitting in this room. There's a lot of people who have been involved in this movement. I think the thing about being a youth movement and young people is that people get older. And so this group of people in this room is the latest generation of a whole cohorts of people who have moved through and made their mark on tomorrow movement.